Hello everyone and welcome to this video where today I will be showing you that how you can call a Power Automate flow from within the PowerApps Canvas app. So I will be creating or developing a Canvas app in PowerApps, and on the click of a button, when the user will manually click the button, we will see that how you can trigger a Power Automate flow. So basically in this video what we are going to see today is that how you can connect to a data source. So I will be using a SharePoint list as a data source. I will add two fields on the Canvas app form or Canvas app screen and a button. And then I will call a Power Automate flow on the click of a button. So let's see this in action. So I am in the Power Apps environment, the same environment which I am using in this Power App series, which is the Power Apps crash course. So for this video, I have already created a list with the name utilities. You can see the list name is utilities. This is SharePoint online environment. I have the columns title, category, quantity, UOM, which is unit of measurement. So title, I have added two dummy entries, utility 1, utility 2, and unit of measurement is ton, kilogram. So this unit of measurement, just for the information, is a choice column. The rest all are number and the single line of text, but this UOM, I have made it as a choice column so that it can have multiple values and user can select from those values. So let's start with the Power Apps. First of all, we will create the Power App screen and we will add some controls, some 2 or 3 labels, drop downs, and then a button. And then we will see that on the click of a button, how we can call a Power Automate flow. So let's start. So I am adding a new screen as usual. Okay, so I will say to rename this screen as src underscore add, let's say, quantity. So add quantity is the screen which I am going to work today in this video. All right, I am in the add quantity screen. So what I'm going to do is I am going to first make a connection with the SharePoint list utilities. So you already know, guys, and you guess it right, that we'll go to the data. We want to make a connection with the utilities SharePoint list. So click on add data, and in the connectors you can very well search for SharePoint. So here you are already connected with admin credentials. It will search for the SharePoint site. You can very well enter the URL also if you already know the URL of your SharePoint site. You can also enter the URL. My site is POC site. Now it will ask me to choose a list. The list name is utilities. So let's connect to this utilities, which will work as a data source for this particular video. Great. So you can see here utilities list is added as a data source in this Power Apps environment. Okay. So let's go back. Let's check whether we are on the same screen. Okay. Now from the controls, which controls we want to add? So let's first add a drop down. I want to add a drop down. Okay. So this is the drop down control which I have added, and I will name it as dd underscore quantity title. Okay, and what will be the data source of this, from where this will get the data items? It will get the data from the utilities. All right, now you can see here that it is showing the value as telephony because by default it is taking the value as category. We can change the default value of this particular drop down, whichever field we want to display. So as of now we want it to display the title. Okay, now you can see if I run it, you can see it is showing utility 1 and utility 2. Great. Okay, now let me add a label here, a text label. All right, so here I can say instead of text I will first rename it. Let's rename it. So lbl underscore utility name. Okay, utility name, and text going to be same. Let's keep it same, utility name. Okay, now let's do some formatting. I'm keeping it bold. Let's keep it as 20 as the font size. Okay, great. Now similarly, I want to create one more label for the quantity which user can add. So make the font size similar to 20 and make it as bold. Okay. And I will rename this label LBL underscore add quantity. Okay. So this is the label again, and I will say add the text property. I can very well change, and I will say add quantity. All right. So we have two labels, added two labels here, one control here, and then we will add text input so that user can add the quantity, whatever quantity they want to add. Okay. So let me do this and let me rename as txt underscore add quantity. Okay. Now I will add a button. Now this button, what this button will do, let's rename this btn underscore add to list, add to list, and the text will be add add data to list. Okay. So this will be the button, and the main purpose of this particular video, I want to show you that how you can call a Power Automate flow on the click of this button, right? So what is going to happen, that user will select the utility name and the quantity, they will enter something here. So let me remove this default text, no, not required. Okay, from this text box. So user will add some quantity which they want to add this utility, and that should get updated in the SharePoint list. That is the purpose or the target of this video. So here we are going to create a Power Automate flow also. But before that, let me add uh, two more labels here, and this label will say I want to show that what is the available quantity, this utility or this particular selected utility is having. So what I'm going to write here is how many utility means 100 quantity and the this I want to showcase here. So what I will say, dd, what is my drop down, quantity title. Okay, dot selected. So whatever is the selected, now selected I want to see the quantity. Okay, so it will show me the quantity of the particular utility which is selected in this drop down, and I can very well say ampersand dd underscore quantity title dot selected dot UOM, that is unit of measurement. Now you remember this is a record. That's why it is giving you some error here, the red underline. This is a record. This is a record because this is a choice column in the SharePoint list. So what we have to write, UOM dot value. Okay. Now you can see it is showing 100 ton of utility is as of now available in this particular utility in the backend. All right. Okay. Let's expand this. Similarly, I want to add another text label to just show the unit of measurement here. So what is still I can write the same thing, dd underscore quantity title dot selected dot UOM, that is unit of measurement, UOM dot value. Dot value is important to learn here and to understand, because this UOM at the back end I showed you is a choice column. That's why you have to write UOM dot value, because UOM itself is a record. Okay. Now if we run this, what we see here, that utility name, I can select the utility name which is there at the back end, utility 1 and utility 2. So I can select utility 1, utility 2, it is showing 500 kilogram. You can see the unit of measurement is kilogram for utility 2, and for quantity it is 500 for utility 2. So great. Till now, so far so good. So now the next target of this video, the next and the last step of this video is to create a flow and to trigger the flow from the click of this button. That is on select event of this button, I want to trigger a flow. Okay. So what we are going to do is now I am going to go in the flow environment or the Power Automate environment. Okay, where I can create the flow. And please remember now the most important thing for this video, the takeaway, that which type of flow you are going to create. We are going to create an instant cloud flow. Why? Because whenever you have to trigger a flow on the click of a button or the event like manual triggering a flow from the Power Apps, you have to always create an instant flow. So I'm clicking on an instant flow. It is asking me for the flow name. Okay. So flow name, I can say add quantity to list. This is my flow name, add quantity to list, and which type of trigger you want to choose. This is also very important. Since we want to trigger the flow from the Power Apps, so the trigger which we are going to use is Power Apps here, and then you click on create. All right. So now the flow environment has been created and I am in the Power Automate flow. And what we are going to achieve in this video is that when someone clicks on this button, okay, the quantity which is added in the text box should get updated in the SharePoint list at the backend using this flow. Okay. So you see here, this is a trigger which is not having anything. Now I am going to add a new step. I am going to create two variables. Okay. I am going to create two variables here. Variable. Okay. I am saying initialize the variable. All right, initialize variable. Now you can say rename it like product underscore id. Why product id? Because you want to get the id, you want to get the id, that which id, particular id you want to update in the list. Right. Type you can give as integer because this is id value, and I can say ask in Power Apps. Okay. So this is the product id. Another variable I want to create for the quantity. Again var, I will search for the variable and initialize the variable. Variable, I will rename it, I will say quantity, and the same name I can give as the name of the variable. Type again integer, value I will say ask in Power Apps. All right. So what we have done so far in the Power Automate, that we added a trigger. We added a trigger, Power Apps trigger, and then we added two variables. We created two variables basically, or we can say in Power Automate terms, we initialized two variables, product ID and quantity. Now the next step is what I want to do is I want to update the item in SharePoint, right? So I'm searching for SharePoint, and in SharePoint there is an action which I want to use, which says update item. I want to use this action which is update item, right? Now site address. So site address we very well know it's the POC site. The list name, list, which list we want to update is utilities. The list name is utilities. Now couple of important things here related to the ID, which ID you want to give, which title you want to give, and the quantity which you want to update. These are the three important things which we want from flow, which should get updated in the list, right? Okay. Now, even before this, we don't know since the ID, and to get the ID, we should add another action here, which says get item. Okay. So I will search for SharePoint, right? And I will search for the action get item. Now you please remember there are two different actions, get items and get item. In this case, for this video, we have to use get item only. Okay. Now here site address, again it will ask for the site address. Site address is POC site. List name is utilities. Now ID. Now which ID you want to choose, which particular item ID. So here I will say the product ID. Okay. Why product ID? Because this is the product ID, the variable which I have created, which is asking the value in Power Apps. All right. Now going to the update item. Now for the title, very well you can choose from the get item title. All right. ID, you can very well choose from the product ID, product underscore ID. Okay. And for the quantity. Now this thing I just wanted to show you here. that for quantity, okay, you cannot use directly the variable because that is the quantity which user is entering in the Power Apps form, right? What you want to do is the value which has been added in the Power Apps, it should get added to the existing value. So you can see here, if someone selects utility 1, the available quantity is 100 ton. And if I add more 100, the value which should get updated in the list, it should be 200. That is my target. And that's what I want the flow to do. So basically we have to add the values. Okay, so there is nothing called A plus B, something like that in Power Automate. So you have to go to expression. Okay, you have to go to expression, and in expression, okay, in expression there will be expression called add. You have to use this expression, and two things you have to add here, right? You already know what you have to add. So first thing we have to add, all right, the first variable. Our variable was quantity, right? Because the quantity which user is entering, comma, the other thing which is the already existing quantity in your SharePoint list. To that value you want to add the new quantity which user is entering. All right. So what you want to do is basically you want to add the quantity which user is entering to the existing value which is present in the list, right? So again, I am repeating what I have done in this flow. So the trigger is Power Apps. The product ID and quantity, these are the two variables which have been initialized to the values which will be entered in the Power Apps. All right. Then get item, I am getting the ID of the particular item which is selected in the Power Apps. And then I am updating that particular item with that ID. All right. So this is the flow. Let's save this flow. The flow is saved now. And now we can very well test the Power Apps and Power Automate functionality together. But here, one more thing is left. The last part of this particular video, because see, we have created the flow, but we have not called that flow as of now on the on select event of this button or the click of this button. That is not yet done. So for that, what you can do, since I am in the modern experience, so you can see on the left hand side, there is an option called Power Automate. Now this option will show me all the flows which I have created in the Power Automate environment. Okay. So you go to this option, Power Automate, and you click the add flow. All right. It might be possible that you will not see your flow very quickly or very instantly in your Power Apps environment. Okay. So what you have to do, you have to wait for few minutes. You have to wait for few minutes so that the Power Automate connection on the Power Apps can show you the flow which you have created very recently in Power Automate. Alright, so let's now check whether the Power Automate flow which we created very recently is available in Power Apps environment. So I'll go to add flow. Great. Now you can see the add quantity to list flow which we created in Power Automate add quantity to list is now visible in the Power Apps environment. So you click on it and then it will make a connection. This Power Automate will make a connection in the Power Apps and it will be added in the Power Apps environment, and then you can use it on the click of a button. So you see here, this add quantity to list has been added. Now what the last step what we are going to do is that on the on select event of this button, what you have to do, that you have to call that Power Automate flow. So for that, what you have to write, you have to write add quantity list to list dot run. This is very important. Dot run will actually trigger the Power Automate flow from Power Apps. Now what it is asking? It is asking the product ID value, means the quantity, the utility which you want to give as a parameter. These are the two input parameter which is asking, the utility and the quantity, right? So what we can say, dd underscore quantity title dot selected, okay, comma, the quantity is in our this text box. So text box is txt underscore add quantity. So I will say txt underscore add quantity dot text. Great. Okay. So it is giving run has some invalid arguments. Okay. Dot ID. Yes. We have to specify the ID, right? We have to specify the ID so that this ID can be passed to the Power Automate. All right. So now I'm saving this Power Apps. Okay. And now we'll see this in action. Let's run this app in preview mode. Now here, let's select the utility 2. Now it says 500 kilogram, which is already available. I want to add 100 more kilograms and let's click on add data to list. Okay. I have clicked on the button add data to list. Now let's see in the SharePoint list whether our data has been updated or not. Because in this case, what will happen when I clicked on this button, the Power Automate flow must have ran in the backend, in the background, and this should have updated the SharePoint list. So let's see here. Great. Now you can see here the quantity has been updated to 600. Earlier it was showing 500. Let's do one more run. So this time let's select for utility 1. Okay. This is 100 ton. I want to add 50 tons more. Okay. And then I click on add data to list. All right. So now my list should show 100 plus 50, which is 150 ton. Okay. So let's see this in SharePoint list. Let's refresh the list. And you see here now it is showing 150. So that's all about this video. In this video, we have seen that how you can call a Power Automate flow on the click of a button in Power Apps Canvas app. Thank you.